It is my honor and my privilege to introduce our keynote speaker tonight. Not just a great guy overall, but just someone that I've gotten to know over the last couple of months. I heard him speak before, and I've spent some time with him and learned his story, and I'm just really impressed with him, and he's a really, really amazing guy, somebody worth talking to. So if you get a chance, reach out to him. Paul David Madsen lost his adult daughter, Laura, and then 9 months later lost his wife of 40 years, Lisa. Their deaths showed Paul real grief, and he dove into several grief support groups. There he noticed significantly fewer male attendees than females, which led him to write the book, Men Grieve Too. In this closing keynote session, Paul will address grief in a hands-on way, offering practical tools to help those experiencing the trauma of loss. Please join me in giving Paul a very warm welcome.
Thank you very much. Hi, I'm Paul. As she said, she read it all just right. The first person I want to thank, where'd she go? Oh, is Nicole. Because of her introduction of me to Marilee, I'm here. And that's a wonderful opportunity for me. I am humbled. I am honored. People sitting so far back. Church crowd, right? You know. And at any rate, I am. I'm humbled and honored to be part of you today because I really respect what you do. My family has been a customer, if you want to call it that, a client, involved with hospice and palliative care 3 times in the last 31 months. And so I have some experience, you know, when life happens, and life happened to me, and as well as the end of life to people I love. So that's my background. Thank you again, Nicole, for the opportunity. More importantly, thank you for the work that you do. Your work is God's work. It's important. You know this. You don't need me to tell you about it. But from a personal perspective, I wanted to say thank you again. Let's show you some of the story behind that, if I can get this right. Nicole mentioned my daughter. She's in the middle, Laura. She's 31 years old, and she was born with a transposition of the great arteries. You're medical people, you understand that stuff. And 5 months after birth, she had a mustard procedure. Now, they didn't switch the arteries back. They kept them there and rerouted the whole flow of blood in her heart, which worked for 28 years. Not bad, 28-year run for that. And then when she was 28 years old, she went in for another open heart surgery to fix that stuff up, tune it up. And that open heart surgery ended up going for 23 hours long, 141 units of blood. And so that was quite an adventure. Coming out of that, the heart worked, but 5 weeks in the ICU, you know what I'm going to say, because I see all the nods. Her lungs got trashed from all that time in the ICU. And so she was on heart-lung machine for she was in surgery. She was on oxygen, 24/7, portable oxygen, had the little green thing, had an oxygen concentrator at home. We always knew where she was in the house because we could follow the cord. and that was her life. And she lived, she worked a little bit, she had lots of friends, kept her driver's license, and that was her story. And then the eventual decay of lung capacity, of course, happened. So that was what her story was, and she was a trooper. We'll talk more about that. On the right is my wife Lisa. Met her when I was 20 years old, smoking hot, college girl, and hey, I got lucky. Okay. And anyway, diabetic from age 8, and so 55 years or so, 57 something of diabetes, GB1 diabetes. Didn't do her any favors, especially when she wasn't in as good control of it toward the end as she should have been. in the end, it was a failure to thrive diagnosis, and she died 9 months after my daughter died. So that was kind of a kicker. So phase 3 of the, I forgot about the tour. There's my runs and models. You all know what runs is in Nebraska. Just a little bit about them. There's a whole crowd. I love this picture because it's one of the last times. You'll notice no trach, Laura. You'll notice Lisa standing. Those are good times. Those are good times. And there's my boys, Jake and Dane, and I'm the fat guy at the end. So anyway, that's one of my favorite pictures, and that's the whole crew. Laura had a fiance. His name is Kevin. He's playing Too Cool for School here. A little trip to Colorado that they had, and he's a good guy. Kevin did, I love this picture too. Kevin did a wonderful job of taking care of Laura. Lived with Kevin for the last 2 years of her life or so, and he did a wonderful job of taking care of her. Doesn't that just say compassion and love for both of them? I'll stop talking because the picture says 1,000 words, right? So that's most of the story. There's a whole crowd together. Kevin won't smile, can't see Lisa's wheelchair, but you can see Laura's cannula, right? Anyway, that's us at home. So the third part of my hospice experience is my almost 95-year-old father-in-law. And he died just about 3 weeks ago. And if any of us should be so lucky to go 95 years and have a loving wife at his side when they go, you've seen the stories. I mean, this room is an amazing group of stories. How many people have you been with at the end of their life? You know, if I take, we got 100 people or so somewhere in there, 100 of you times all the stories of all the patients you've taken care of over the years, thousands of stories, thousands of end-of-life stories. Think of the history, think of the love, think of all of that. It's just amazing to me. And, you know, my father-in-law was kind of like Dad for the last 20 years because my dad's been gone. Bottom line is, it's a story of love. And the point is, Laura was, she was under St. Croix as far as hospice, and then she also had some palliative care from Methodist Hospital. And Lisa was a resident, if you want to call it that, at Chelsea Harper Hospice House. That was a miracle. You'll hear a bit more about that later. And Verlin was under the Endless Journey umbrella. And so it was kind of ironic that I learned about that in a funny way. So yeah, small world, right? So that's my experience with hospice. And I don't wish it on anybody, but that's where it goes. So there they are. Oh, I told you a smoking hot college girl, didn't I? The one in the middle is my wife, not my daughter. Daughter on the left. There's the trach and all that, and then Grandpa Verlin on the end. So statistics. Every speech has to have statistics, right? Yours does, mine does. Statistics have proven that your work, what you do, increases the length and the quality of your patient's life. You don't need me to cite a bunch of studies to prove that. You know that. Well, because of that, there's the problem. The problem is death rate's still 100%, and I didn't get that square out of there, so it ruins the joke, but anyway. You can't fix that, can you? That's where we go. If this group has a sense of humor if about death, it would be you, I would hope, because you see so much of it compared to the average person. So let's have a little fun. There's some people out there who have pretty funny tombstones. This one, you've heard this before. Told you I was sick. And this one, I'm thinking this is an artist or a designer, D-E-A-D, very geometrical. I'm not quite sure what's going on in his or her mind, but not too much detail. Here we go. This is the atheist marker, I believe. I'm going one way, don't bother follow. And over here is his cousin. You know, he's not going to be Pardon me for not rising. So again, I think that's the atheist crowd. But then there's the 180 opposite degree of that. Reincarnating people, they're coming right back. Leave their stuff alone, right? Don't mess with my stuff. So that's how that worked. Oh, I love this one. How many times do you have a grandma or a mom says, I want your recipe over my dead body? Well, the kids heard that so many times that they put the recipe over her dead body. So I love that one. So I'll leave it on there if you want to copy down the recipe. I just thought that was great. Oh, Arthur needs a little bit of punctuation or spacing here. Arthur Spanks' his wife, Catherine. I'm not quite sure that's what he had in mind there, but the tombstone artist might need a little spanking on that one. So this one, I don't know if you can read it or not. Lady from Texas. If you can read this, you're standing on my boobs. So I showed that one to one group, and they said, no, I don't know him. So anyway, that's a good one. I'm a golfer. I love this one. Finally, he got his hole in one. And don't laugh, you're next. That's a little ominous. A little heavy on that one. And this is mine, I think I'll have. Finally, I will get the last laugh. Ha, 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 ha. So death is part of the story. And speaking of death, I have a local story. Since we're in Lincoln, we can tell a Husker story. Tom Osborne, the game was about to start. Legendary, everybody knows who Tom Osborne is, right? I am in Lincoln, right? In Nebraska. The head coach, famed head coach, the games were going to start. He noticed the empty seat up there about halfway up in the first section of the stands. What in the heck? Empty seat at a Husker game? And he was troubled by this, asked the ushers to go up and get the gal sitting next to the empty seat and find out what the story is. Well, they brought her down, eventually came down, the game's almost ready to start. Tom says, excuse me, ma'am, I noticed that you're sitting next to an empty seat. And she said, oh yeah, my husband died and he won't be coming to any more games. Tom says, well, I'm sorry. He's kind of taken aback, like, I apologize. I didn't mean, sorry for your loss. And he said, a couple beats go by, and he says, you know, I was kind of wondering, couldn't you find a friend or a relative or neighbor to take the seat? And you know the punchline. And they all said, she said, well, that's fine. That'd be a great idea, but they're all at the funeral. So that was a fan. She lived life with passion. She lives life with joy. She lives life with gratitude for her Husker team. And that was the story on that. You've heard of Red. Remember Red from the Shawshank Redemption? Great movie from the 90s, Prison Break. He's a lifelong convict. He's in for life. And he's got a couple of philosophies. Red is, what's his phrase? Say it with me. Get busy living or get busy, you know it. Get busy living or get busy dying. I love Red's philosophy. Me, I had my own stuff. And I had a choice, you know, grovel in grief or get busy living. And so Red was one of my counselors. And so that's, as we talk about how you're going to live, that's the question I want to ask you. How do you want to live? How do you want to live? You see so much end of life in your work. Does it make you reflect on how you want to live? We could ask Andrea here. What's the most important part of that stone? You've heard this one in church before, I'm sure. Most important part of that headstone, we'll zoom in here. Yeah, there's the date and the name and the phrases and all that. It's the dash. She's born in this year. She died in this year. But there's a dash in the middle. What does that dash represent for you? Each one of you, think about it. What does my dash look like? You've heard this one before, I'm sure. But it's worth repeating. That's why I bring it up. The dash is representative of who we are in our life. How do you want to live? I'll be repeating that a few times as we go along. How do you want to live? What choices do you want to make? Do you want to grovel in grief or do you want to work toward gratitude? That's my journey, and that's what I'm here to chat with you about. Talking about how we live. My bride, Yes, I was attracted. I'm a 20-year-old male. You saw how great looking she is. I noticed that. But yet, instantly, something else about her. I noticed her sense of humor. We just clicked on that. That was just really solid. We were married 3-4 years, and it was a Halloween party. We said, what should we be for Halloween? Well, the Coneheads, everybody know who the Coneheads are. Came Saturday Night Live, staple, came 1970s, came to Earth, had Coneheads, fitted into Earth culture. Well, she and I decided we'd be Coneheads. It was the mid-'80s, so it wasn't too far out from their popularity. We got the hat on, got the clothes, got the makeup, got ready to go. What's the problem? Get in there. I had a 1979 Honda Prelude. It was about as long as this little table right here. Pretty darn small, okay? How do you got an issue there. So fortunately, we were lucky. It has a sunroof. And stick your head up in through this. She did it from the other side, and away we went. Conehead sticking out the top of the sunroof. I can't tell you anything about the party we went to. I remember nothing about it. I remember everything about the trip to it. People honking, waving, laughing, yelling, high-fiving. It was so much fun. We drove around and around. We probably missed, maybe that's it. Maybe we didn't go to the party. I'm not even sure. So, and it was such fun. We chose to live with humor, with fun, with gratitude. We didn't call it gratitude back then, but that's who we were. So I didn't dig deep enough, but we have another picture somewhere of listen to me. We have a picture somewhere of us, Star Trek. She's a hair taller than me by 2 inches, and I'm Jim Kirk, and I've got a plastic phaser here, and she's Mr. Spock with a dark-haired wig and the pointy ears, and that's another Halloween we went. I wish I could show that picture, but you just heard about it. So anyway, that was us. We decided to live with joy, with fun. But you know what? Life is a roller coaster, isn't it? This thing called COVID. Yes, Laura died. Bad story, bad details. I shared some of that with you. She was living in her apartment with Kevin. We would have these balcony greetings. We could, you can talk on the phone and all the FaceTime, blah, blah, blah. But in person, you can go talk. You can't be too close. And especially with her compromised lungs, she can't. We were all following the rules, okay? So anyway, this story is more about Lisa. And it's a story of when we, story of Lisa and when we wanted to visit her. She had that failure to thrive diagnosis. It's dry up here. And the point is, COVID prevented, she ended up she ended up in a long-term care facility. Can't go in there, of course. I got to have 25-minute supervised visit once a week. Married to her for 40 years. Why is it I have a supervised visit? I'm going to touch her? What's the deal? Anyway, that was very frustrating. But it was Christmas. My boys, one of them's in the back, and I went to deliver a Christmas present to the front door. So they're going to bring that to her room. Then we went around back, slopping through the mud, looking through a rusty screen and a dirty window, trying to pound on that window to get the worker to come back into the room so she could help Lisa to take the phone from down here, she was not really responsive, and put it back up here so we could get her to hear and sing the songs of our Christmas song. COVID is mud. That was no fun. And you see stories every day that are no fun. I'm not telling you anything you haven't seen. You have probably worse stories than mine that in your know. But the point is, that was what happens in life sometimes at the roller coasters. And I won, I'm going to go back first. I won the grief lottery after losing both Lisa and Laura. What I mean by that is friends, neighbors, relatives, strangers, people from my childhood, 50 years ago or more, from my hometown said, Paul, come home, we're going to go canoeing, we're going to go golfing, we're going to do something, we're going to take care of you, get you moving. Great, and I did. And I loved it, and I felt pretty grounded when people who you've known since you're 5 years old care enough to get you onto their turf, my old turf, and get going and get living, get busy living, not get busy dying. Wonderful. Locally, I had friends that grabbed me, pull me out on the golf course, friends that grabbed me, pull me out riding bike with them. And you don't know how wonderful that is. Of course, you've seen all the food, all the cards, all the gifts, everything. You've seen all that stuff in your work. What happens, of course, is what I talk about. I left that behind now. I thought I'd be up here more. Oh, and it's down here. What happens is what I talk about in Men Grieve 2, my book that I wrote, I mentioned, I call it the calm after the storm. You know I see all you see, you guys could lead this class. You know what I'm going to say every time. What happens? All the food, all the cards, all the attention. Oh, I forgot to say my neighbors on the grief lottery. My neighbors came over to my house and trimmed my trees and put mulch in. I mean, it's the lottery, right? It's amazing. But what happens after all that goes away? It slowly tapers down, and then it's quiet, very quiet. And that quiet, finally the adrenaline of mine let down, and I was ready to sit in my brown chair. I didn't want anybody to bother me. I said, I've been through a lot. I need to just isolate. I did. My brown chair, I just wanted to sit there and not have people say, how you doing? How you doing today? I didn't want them to pick the scabs off my wounds and have to re-explain everything one more time. I just want to sit and isolate. And there are so many things a guy can do, or a woman, when they are faced with grief, to mask that grief. You've seen these in your work. I mean, a person can, drugs, alcohol, promiscuity, pornography, food, sell the house, move, go somewhere else, lose all their friends, start new friends, dump their church, dump their social groups, all sorts of options that people can do to mask their grief. And you already saw my punchline here. Did you know that a man who has lost his 31-year-old daughter and 9 months later lost his wife for 40 years can eat 2 whole boxes of Kraft macaroni and cheese? I don't know who that would be, but it's possible. Not very healthy, but it's possible. So that was one of my drugs of choice, and it just happens. And so the other story I have is the triggers. You know about triggers. How many people here have lost a loved one? I didn't see. I saw everybody raise their hand. You know what I'm going to say next. The triggers. Lisa loved avocados. I ran the household for 4 years. I was a shopper. I'm a pretty good shopper. And she loved avocados. I always bought avocados. Well, by the time the casseroles went away, I'm back at the store. And what am I doing? I'm going by the avocados. And there they are. And there I am. And I'm hunched over the cart, crying like a baby, or crying whatever, crying hard. I'm sure the other shoppers thought I was having a heart attack or something. But I still, every time I go by the avocados now, I still have the same thought. I don't have the breakdown anymore, so maybe I'm making progress, right? Yeah, okay. Well, but the avocados, they're a trigger. I talk about triggers and tears in my book as well. So I don't want to dwell on that stuff. I want to dwell on the good stuff. This goes back to our honeymoon. We took a honeymoon across the Great Plains. Figure that one out. We were pretty, anyway. We couldn't fly around the world, let's put it that way. So we took a broken down Chevrolet across the Great Plains. What does the Great Plains have a lot of history? They've got a lot of historical markers, right? Well, a lot of historical markers. And we stopped and looked at a couple of them and said, hey, let's read these, let's get some history down, let's see what's going on. And then we said, we're going to get really late if we stop and read it. So we started skipping them, and we kept going by more and more. Finally, Lisa says, boy, it is hysterical how many historical markers there are. And you know what that did? That became inside joke number 327. And yes, when she said that, and we laughed, and we thought of hysterical markers. So we went by a couple more. There's another hysterical marker. And went by a couple more. Yeah, there's another. Pretty soon we're talking about something else. But it became burned into our subconscious, burned into our history, burned into our culture of who we are to laugh about hysterical markers. And you might just think of one next time you drive by one on the way home. Anyway, that was an important part. It was one of those conehead moments, so to speak. It was a way we wanted to live, a way we wanted to laugh, a way we had it. How do you want to live? You want to live with quality. You want to live with gratitude. You want to live with joy. Abe has a famous quote, not the quantity, but the quality. Wouldn't you agree with that? I would agree with that. I think everybody would. And especially the stories you see. I mean, I know a lot of your patients are old, but some are not, correct? And so that quality issue is, see lots of nodding. So is something we need to think about. That gratitude, how do you make that quality happen for yourself? Oh, this is that road trip, by the way. Jake is 2 feet. He's 2 feet shorter in this shot than he is in the back of the room right now. But that hysterical. Oh, not that. I first got to say, fast forward 35 years from the honeymoon. Here we are, driving by yet another, hysterical marker, excuse me, and. Nothing's changed. Oh, I guess it has. We have a minivan now. We have 3 kids in the back, and they're probably arguing about something. Kids are. This is probably before smartphones, or at least they had them anyway. And so we're driving along, and Lisa and I didn't even say anything. Just kind of looked at each other out of the corner of our eye and said, 35 years later, we're still know about hysterical markers. So how do you want to live? Do you want to live with joy and gratitude? I recommend it. Who's been to the cheap seats in Omaha? A couple people. You know what I'm talking about. Westwood One movie theater out on West Center Road, 120th. Theaters, the seats were for, movie seats were $1. We loved it. We went there so many times. It was just a whole bunch of times. And we had some good friends that came along with us. I bet we went at least once a month, sometimes maybe more. Is that a little addictive? I don't know. Well, the price was right, the entertainment was good, the company was good, so we did it. More important than that is the theme. It says, thank you for 20 great years. That was wonderful. How often do we say thank you for 20 great years, or thank you to your family, your spouse, your friends, your relatives, your parents, your kids? Thank you, son or daughter, for 20 great years, or whatever the number you need to put in there. Don't forget to say thank you. Speaking of movies, another how do you want to live joy story. We were going to the movies. How could you not love a wife who thinks you look like a movie star? What's the laughter all about? She honestly did. She thought I looked like a movie star. And maybe you'll laugh even more at this one. She thought that I looked like Matt Damon. More laughter. They're picking on me, Nicole. And I can prove it. The reason she thought this was because one time we were going to the movies, before smartphones, we didn't have a newspaper, whatever. The times on the wall of the movie theater, I even know the year, 2007, were peeled off or fallen off, or we couldn't see what time the movie was. So a dutiful husband, I was told, go up to the wall and look and see if they can see what time the movies are if you're closer up. Did my job. And the closer I got to the wall and the movie theater poster, the more she thought I looked like Matt Damon. You can't figure this one out? And so, and there we go. And here we are together. Now, this joke worked better when, it's not a joke, it's a true story. When I had a little shorter hair and it was darker. So anyway, live with joy. How are you going to live? Are you going to live with joy? Are you going to live with gratitude? I encourage it. I encourage it. And here's the benefits of gratitude. You can skim those over real quick while I get a drink. Better sleep, better physical health, better mental health, greater willpower, improved self-esteem, better relationships, improved self-care. Who wants some of those? Many of you. Okay, some of you don't. Wonderful benefits of being simply grateful. Let's be grateful. And this comes from the November 23rd study of cone health, and that's not to be confused with conehead health. Okay. Anyway, great stuff, right? Why wouldn't anybody want those? This guy's in the news for the wrong reasons sometimes, and I'm not promoting that. I am promoting the fact that he's one of the world's greatest golfers ever, historically. That can't be denied. He wrote a book, and that's good quality, right? He wrote a book, How I Play Golf. Now, a guy who's won more major tournaments than and everybody except Jack Nicklaus could write a book that has a different title. He could write a book that says, How to Play Golf. Instead, look at the subtle difference. How I play golf. And that's where I'm going with you, is I'm going to say how I do something, even though I'm not Tiger Woods level. He could easily say how you should play golf, but he says how I do it. And that's what I'm going to talk about, how I do gratitude. And we all agreed, most of you anyway, that gratitude was important, so let's talk about it. First, before I talk about the nuts and bolts of it, this is the continuing education unit part of your class tonight, so you don't have to take notes. But you all know better than anybody that in fact, that 100% death rate is still intact, right? Nothing's changed since 20 minutes ago. So if we're all facing death, I feel that gratitude lightens all death. Many of you would agree with that, I think. I use that as a precursor to the rest of it. My affirmation, my gratitude affirmation, my affirmation acronym rather, is gratitude. I just use the word itself. It's a long one. You can use a shorter word as you make up your own, but I'll just show you. Oh, that's me after a bike ride. The Pioneer Bicycle Club, they're very, very gentle and kind with me. They let me ride behind them. So it's very nice of them. I'm surprised I'm standing after that ride there. But it's a good experience. So how do you do these affirmations? They're on the way to me now. You know, how many of us say, oh, in a year from now or 2 years from now, I'm going to be completed with this degree. I'm going to complete with this certification. I'm going to complete with this many years here. I'm going to get to my pension plan. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And you're thinking way off in the future. I contend, what I do is think of it now. What am I thinking of that's going to happen now? And that's important. I mean, there are trillions of cells in your body. Trillions of them. And guess what? They all vibrate at 62 to 70 megahertz. I don't even know what that means, but they do, according to the research I've done. That's the science part of it. I told you it was CEU, right? And the point is that if there's more gratitude going toward them, more positivity going toward them, all those cells, they stay healthy, they go faster, they get stronger, especially when they focus on the current right now. So let's do that. Let's focus on the current. And don't focus on the lack. Like, I'd be fine if I just get rid of this extra 20 pounds. Oh, our finances are not so good right now at home, but they're going to be better. There's got this and got that. There's all sorts of issues. Don't focus on the lack of gratitude. Focus on the potential gratitude coming at you right now. That's what I do. and they all start with a glad. First of all, I'm glad that great health is improving. My great health is improving. Am I in perfect health? Look at me. No. Are you in perfect health? I don't think anybody is. But it's improving. You're speeding up those cells by getting things to improve, right? So, yeah, there's my view from behind the bicycle club. And it's coming right now. I actually take time, go down the bottom. My musculoskeletal system is fluid, limber, strong. My cardiovascular system is open and fluid and pumping perfectly. You know, those kind of things. I tell myself, it takes a little time, especially when you go, lots of body systems that go down and think of, right? But that's what I do. So that's my affirmation number one there. I start with health. You've all flown, or many of you have flown an airplane. What do they say? Take the mask, put it over your own mouth before you put it over the kids. Because why? If you put it over the kid's mouth first, then you expire, and you're not going to help the kid at all, right? So that's why health is first. Next one. I want to remember my girls. And so I work hard at remembering the laughing, the loving, the conehead stories, the hysterical markers, all that kind of thing. And yes, a 4 and 5 year slow, prolonged death march was not fun, but I learned lots of things from that. And so my laughing, my learning, and my loving, I had. I'm glad, gratitude lightens all death. I'm glad I had that. Next, my sons are still with me, and I appreciate them, and I appreciate all their success, and I go down the various parts of a person's life and go down that in my brain and do that. Kevin's on the right. I keep him in my thoughts as well, even though he didn't make the picture. The dog is still with us. Another one, I'm glad that my small business is thriving. I'm providing helpful content to many, many people. I didn't put the big number I have on many, many people, what that means, because you might be embarrassed for me, but I have big goals. And so that's why I'm thriving, is because I'm focused on other people. But that's my T word. Remember the gratitude? I'm down to T, okay? So I'm energized that my daily spiritual goals include my relationship to God, the universe, and the energy behind it. Spirituality is a part of my life, and it's probably a part of yours based on what you do. How could it not be? I don't know. Is there such a thing as an atheist hospice nurse? I don't know, probably, but it seems like interesting to think about. At any rate, I'm energized by that, and so I go down a whole litany of things, including some quantum physics stuff as well, and that's what I do. Nextly, I could feel, that's my F in grateful, multiple sources of income, jobs, gigs, book sales, speaking, coaching, quite a variety of different things coming in. I have to focus on that right now. I want it coming now, and so that's what's part of me, and that's what's part of Garen. I'm glad, this slide didn't get changed. It's supposed to say I understand the importance of team and how people, I can help them and they can help me. I hate it, version control. So you can pretend it says something else. But, the point is that we are all not working alone. We work together, especially in your business. You work with people, but you work with coworkers, right? You work with bosses, you work with family people, you work with church projects, civic projects. Those are important. And so I help people get to their level, they help me get to mine. Just a reminder that it's important about people. That's what I'm grateful and gratitude about. I love learning, experiencing, and new things. I wish I was that skinny, but anyway, the point is that we never stop learning. Feeding those cells that you're learning, absorbing new things every day, all builds toward gratitude. So that's, grateful. The grateful, and here it is. You say, Paul, I don't have time to go through all that, especially in the morning before I get out of bed. What are you, crazy? I got 1,000 things to do. And so, well, here's 2 or 3 sentences instead. Who has a smartphone with a timer on it? Anybody have one? Could you stopwatch me and I'll read it and tell me when to go? And we're going to time it out and we're going to see how long it takes. And now you're under pressure, so you're going to not find it.
Now, what do you want?
Just a stopwatch.
Okay.
Ready? Okay, you tell me when to go.
Go.
Okay, go. Great, improving health, remembering relationships, appreciate family success, thankful for thriving, energized spiritually, favorable income sources, feeling income sources, understanding others and the importance of team, loving, learning, new leveling. Stop. 17 seconds. Do you have 17 seconds to feel more grateful? Paul, I don't know. 17 seconds to feel a more grateful, happier, longer, better life? Yes? Lots of nods. I think, okay, I'll move on because I got a lot of nods. But, Paul, I don't know if I even have 17 seconds. I got the van, it has a leaky tire in the back, it needs an oil change. I got to get Susie to orthodontist. Billy has a soccer practice. Tommy has a baseball practice right at the same time. I can't find anybody to take them to both. And then I got to take my grandkid over to the church for that thing. And then I volunteered on the church planning committee for that stupid project. I can't get out of it now because I said, yes, my life is complicated. I may not even have 17 seconds. You know what I say to that? Been there, done that. Being there, sometimes doing that. No, I don't have to tote him to soccer practice. One time, I'm a sadistic. One time, my other son is an Eagle Scout. You know what's involved with that? A lot, okay? I'll admit it. It was over, I just tallied it all out, all the number of meetings and trips and adventures and activities to get to that Eagle. Over 300 trips to do stuff, to take him places, and worth it, and I would do it again. But I understand even not feeling having 17 seconds. So I get it. But 17 seconds, and, well, okay, if you are still fighting me on 17 seconds, I have this thought. Lisa broke her femur. You saw how, well, you didn't see a standing picture. She's a tall girl. And a nice long nail they put inside the bone. I don't know quite how y'all do that and how you handle it. And non-weight bearing for 90 days, the whole drill. You've seen all these stories, I'm sure. Well, through the whole process, got to know the orthopedic surgeon and her general practitioner, of course. And he says the only way to cure that osteoporosis is what? You know the answer. Nutrition helps, but the bottom line is impact. Your bone is going to get stronger when it pounds against something. Swimming? Nah. Bicycling? Not really, unless it's mountain biking. But your bone's going to get stronger, he says, if it strikes something. So tomorrow morning, if you're fighting me on 17 seconds, think of me when your foot softly hits that floor. That's your first impact of the day, unless your first impact of the day is pounding that snooze button, which I call a regret button because you didn't go to sleep soon enough, or you had that extra cup of coffee, or whatever. Or as Zig Ziglar calls it, opportunity clock, not an alarm clock. Why start with a negative construct of alarm? No, it's an opportunity. Today is starting new opportunities. Thank you, Zig, for that piece of profound wisdom. So that's what I want you to think about when you say, I don't have 17 seconds, Paul. I'll be your impact. I'll be your osteoporosis solution. That's where I'm going with that. Michael Jordan says, if you decide about something, then you don't have to think about it anymore. I gave up soda pop and fast food for Lent. I'm not even Roman Catholic, but I thought it was a good exercise. So far I'm okay. I beat it. It's just hard because I was pretty addicted to Diet Mountain Dew. And somebody gave me a six-pack of Diet Mountain Dew the day on Ash Wednesday. I said, you're mean. It's still sitting by the doorway and I haven't drank any. Yeah, how about a hand for Paul? Woo! Okay. Anyway, we'll see what happens on Easter. I'll spend a lot of time in the bathroom. Anyway, but you don't have to bargain with yourself. You don't have to negotiate anymore. I said, I've decided this. I've decided I'm not going to drink that pop right there. I've decided I'm not going to turn that car into Culver's or Runza. It takes a lot off your plate. All you have to do is make a real decision. Oh, I have to do. I keep saying I'm supposed to be telling you how I do gratitude. So, speaking of gratitude, how do you live? You all know the guy on the left. Sir Elton John. Guy on the right, Jeff Hansen, anybody heard of him? All right, we have a winner. 11-year-old kid had a long form of cancer, brain tumor, visually impaired, serious visual impairment. During chemo, he started picking up drawing and artwork and acrylics and got real good on some of that stuff. Started selling it out of the end of his driveway. Started getting some money. Started getting some attention. Started getting on TV a little bit. Make-A-Wish Foundation learned of him. And they said, we can arrange for you to meet Elton John. So, 12-year-old kid with a brain tumor, visually impaired, going to Elton. You know what he's doing there? Elton's not giving him a check. He's giving Elton a check. Elton's worth $500 million for the AIDS Foundation. Jeff Hansen gave Elton a check for $1,000 for the AIDS Foundation. Talk about living. How do you want to live? How does Jeff want to live? With gratitude, with optimism, with intention. And so he went on and said, I'm going to give $10 million away to charities by the time I'm 30 years old. Well, he didn't make it. He died when he was 27 years old after giving $7.2 million to 200 different charities. Paul, I'm too busy. 17 seconds, can't do it. 200 charities, $7.2 million. What a story. What a story. Kind of a summary of gratitude. I love this one. Gratitude may mean letting go of what I think my life is supposed to look like and celebrating it for everything it is. You saw my picture of the Christmas tree and us gathered there. That's not the final picture I wanted in my mind. I wanted a picture of all of those people and a dozen grandkids as well. Well, Laura's not going to be there. Lisa's not going to be there. There's future opportunities, of course, but I had that white picket fence. I get those Christmas cards from you, the ones that have you, all the kids and all the piled around the kids and the spangly stars in the corners and all the names on the bottom, and you don't know what name goes with what parent, and it's all confusing, but it's all beautiful and great and wonderful. I wanted to send out those. That was the picture I had of what my life was supposed to look like. Instead, I'm celebrating what it does look like. I'm watching my sons thrive. I'm watching my career thrive. I'm watching all sorts of good things come because of my attention to gratitude, my work toward that. Gratitude may mean letting go what I think my life should look like and celebrating it for what it is. Is that a good one? Yeah, you like that one? Okay. In fact, hey, you just gave me an idea. Thank you in the fourth row. Get out your cell phones, if you would, please. Help me with a PR moment. And just you can take a picture of this, but it make me feel very important if you're all facing your cell phones, holding them up, taking a picture of me. And I'll wait till you've got most of them ready, and I'll say when to hold them up, or you can 3, 2, 1. You just did me a huge favor. Part of speaking and promoting yourself is just that, so thank you for that. I hope you took a picture of this because that's the most important part of that exercise. One day, beautiful summer day, I pull up the stop sign, windows down, stoplight next to me pulls up, guy similar to this, he's more dramatic than that even. Big leather, big hair, big glasses, big beard, big bike, big noise, everything. You see him all the time. Wonderful. And this guy, not like this guy, my guy did not, look over at me because I'm just an average gray-haired dude driving a minivan. And I'm a guy. I'm not gonna give him that acknowledgement. I'm gonna, he's cool. He's free spirit. He's everything I want to be, right? I'm not going to give him that kind of look. And so we're in a stalemate, staring straight ahead. You know what he did. What did he do? Yes, we have a winner. Rev that bike. How do you rev your bike? He revved that bike. The word rev sounds a lot like relevance. I just equated the two. We rev our own bikes. How do you dress? How do you relate to people? Where do you live? What do you drive? What's your work? What's your mission? What's your goal? What's your faith? What is your relevance? How are you relevant? How do you rev your bike? Next time you see a motorcyclist, think about how your relevance, how do you practice your relevance? How do you practice your gratitude? Once again, thank you for 20 great years. How about this tonight, or tomorrow, or whenever? Go to someone you love, even if you're single, a parent, a sibling, a friend, go to someone you love and say, like I said before, thank you for 20 great years. How often do we say it? Not often enough. If you surprised your spouse or your special someone tonight and said, you know, honey, thank you. Thank you for being you. Thank you for our life. Thank you for 20 great years. They're going to look at you like you're nuts. Like, what have you been smoking? What do they do at that conference in Lincoln anyway? So, how about, let's make a commitment. Who's going to say something like that to someone special in their life within the week? All right, most of you. All right. I want letters and emails, okay? To see how they did. So be sure to thank people for their great years. Laura was an animated spirit. She was in spirit. Inspiration means in spirit. And you have been in spirit with me today, and I thank you for that. I appreciate your attention and your work, like I said before. I don't know what she's talking about here, but she's a going, you can just tell. After she was on oxygen for about 3 years, she was wanting to use her story to inspire and help other people. It's kind of like Jeff Hansen. Jeff Hansen said, God did not give me this tumor. God is using this tumor so I can help other people. Laura was kind of like that, maybe not quite that profound, but she did. She wanted to become a motivational speaker. She joined Toastmasters. Ever heard of Toastmasters? It's a public speaking training organization to get better at talking. She wanted to communicate her message. She made several friends there. And so in today's day and age, and being a millennial, she, of course, made videos. And she's got a video coming up, short video, 2 minutes, that was made, like I said, about a year before she died. And it just says a lot, I think, about things. Just remember, she wanted to use her story to help other people. I'm clicking on the machine.
Good afternoon, friends and family. Peace and good tidings to you on this gorgeous September day here in Omaha, Nebraska, United States of America. So I wanted to make a short little video on why it is important to be grateful. Being grateful helps you increase your happiness level. If you're feeling down, just think of 3 things to be grateful for, and if you do that for 21 days in a row, you'll feel amazing, because it'll be a new habit. And if you have a habit of having an attitude of gratitude, life will be peachy, keen, awesome. You know, like, most of us have it really, really, really well off since we have a roof over our heads, we have food in the pantry, we have loved ones who care about us, and we can connect with them really, really, really quickly over the internet. That's pretty cool. So, things to keep in mind as you're going about your day, and I hope that this little few video brighten your day. That's my job. At least I like to think it is. Haha. So, have a good one. Bye.
It's kind of like she's still with us when we have something like that. And I have a few other goofy ones too. That the bottom line to that is, you heard about the grateful. I beat you over the head with that. The bottom line to this story about Laura is, when she walked this earth, she wanted to be an inspirational, motivational speaker. And now she is. Thank you for helping my family. Thank you for what you do. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart. You added peace to my life and to their life. You added comfort and peace to her life. And you added dignity to his life because of your work. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much. I'd like for you to introduce this special guest here.
Him? Mm-hmm. Oh, really?
Yes.
He's going to love that.
I already asked him if it was okay.
Okay. I mentioned the short kid at Chimney Rock. He changed a little since 9 years old. Guess where he goes to school? He's here, so I had him come over for, I am selling books. Of course, outside, you pay him at this brand new one. You're the first to hear about this brand new one called Remember When We. I keep going to grief groups because I have lots of friends there now. And I love to hear their stories and the news stories. And it's just a quick, easy read devotional, just a little handy thing that way. Brand new, you hear about it first. Problem is I only have about 4 or 5 of them, but there is a sheet out there for QR code if you want to get them. Men Grieve too, of course, we do have lots of those out there as well. More importantly, here's Laura's little brother, Jake. He's a student over at, you're going to be done December? December. So give Jake a hand for coming on.
Thank you so much, Paul.
Thank you.
And thank you, Jake, for coming to support your dad. I think that's